First-rate job. I had no idea it would turn out so well.
Yes. A beautiful creation.
I've been thinking. Tomorrow it will be 28 years to the day that I've been in the service. 28 years in peace and war. I don't suppose I've been at home more than 10 months in all that time. Still, it's been a good life. I wouldn't have had it any other way. But there are times suddenly you realize you're nearer the end than the beginning. And you wonder, you ask yourself what the sum total of your life represents. What difference your being there at any time made to anything. Or if it made any difference at all, really. Particularly in comparison with other men's careers.
First day we started editing, he fired up a big marijuana doobie, as they used to call them, and invited me to join in. And
there's no funny stories with Josh. They're all very serious, but they're seriously funny.
But nobody's gonna watch this, right?
And there were two guys on campus that had a beard. The vice principal and 14-year-old Josh Becker.
And I just thought Josh at that time was one of the more obnoxious people I had ever met.
6 years old, I'm on the floor eating paste for the most part. Licking the floor and waiting for nap time.
One thing I learned about Josh is that he's not the easiest person in the world to get along with. And I'm sure you've heard this from absolutely everybody.
I don't know, he also has a charm, he's funny, he's good-hearted. Sometimes he can be the flip of that, but only out of vulnerability, really, he's not.
Well, other than his merciless dissection of all my arguments about film, he slaughtered me, and every one we had. It was brilliant.
Josh went to Amsterdam once, and I asked him, did he go for the pot or for the hookers? He goes, they have hookers there?
For better or worse, for right or wrong, for whatever he's doing, at least he's passionate about it.
Josh, I would say in the 70s, Josh got more ass than a toilet seat.
Sam, the last time I saw Sam at a bar mitzvah, he sat down at the table with Bruce and Rob Tappert, and Sam sits down next to me, and to the whole table, he says, Josh was always the smartest kid in the neighborhood. He was always reading. At the bus stop, he was always reading. He was like smarter than everybody. It's like seen all the movies and everything. He was the smartest kid in the neighborhood. He goes, so how's that going for you?
What got you into making movies?
What got me into making movies? I've been obsessed by movies my entire life. Really, from my earliest memories. I think the thing that got me to movies was cartoons. That I became obsessed by cartoons very, very early. And then I started to really pay attention and say, like Daffy Duck is funnier than Donald Duck. So I quickly realized I didn't like Walt Disney stuff, but I loved Warner Brothers stuff. And so the Warner's cartoons took me to the Warner's movies. And it wasn't until probably the age of 9 or 10, and having watched a lot of movies already, that I came to realize there actually was a thing called a director. And once I realized that, I went, oh, that's what I want to do.
First day of junior high school in 7th grade, the lockers are in alphabetical order, and about 4 down from me was Bruce Campbell, Becker Campbell.
I think a teacher, Wendy Cutler, she was the drama teacher, and we did the lottery, and Josh, because he had a beard, he was the oldest. He wasn't an actor. He never was an actor. He never had any aspirations of really being an actor. So he took a key early role because he could grow a fucking beard.
We were in Mr. Stanley's class, and at one point he said, does anyone have any movies they've made? Scott's and my hand shoot up, and he goes, well, bring them in, let's watch them. So Scott and I brought our movies in, and I showed my little movies up to that point.
And what were your movies? Were what, like Family Vacation?
Yeah, we went to the Canary Islands, and I did a couple of dumb little things, and
but nothing really that held together as a whole movie. I did this Public Enemy Revisited, which the sound didn't turn out, you know, that I started. And Scott showed he had already remade a half dozen Three Stooges shorts, I don't know how many at that point. And he had them synced up to a cassette tape recorder that he miraculously, if he kept stopping it and starting it, he could keep it in sync. And he had done this very clever thing of having himself and his actors learn word for word entire scenes from the Stooges, and then he'd play that on the set, and they would do it dead nuts on, word for word. And so when it came time, and he didn't put any cuts into the dialogue, so that when he played the cassette, it sunk up perfectly, and the slaps all connected, and he started getting huge laughs with the eye pokes, and I went, damn, this guy's like way ahead of me. And I collected, when the class was over, I collected up my Poultry movies, put them in their cases, and Scott came over and he couldn't have been nicer. Hey man, that shit was great and I loved it. Come on, we have to make movies. Movies are great, great. And
then, you know, he's always filming something. I never really went to his house. We didn't socialize much, but we definitely were aware of each other. Then he wants to do Oedipus Rex. Of course, why would you not do Oedipus Rex in 8th grade? You're not even aware of your inability to do it. And so he knew I wanted to be an actor, so he put me in it. I think I was King Creon. You know, as amateurish as you can get, cutting to like title cards, because they were silent movies, really, technically. And then Josh really, he really stood out. He did a movie called Super Student.
But anyway, during that time, and I don't know if I had mentioned it, I made that Super Student movie in junior high school, which was the smash hit.
So we were all herded down to this auditorium because we were going to see a special showing of some movie, Sam Raimi included among that, because Sam lived in Franklin, which is Josh's neighborhood. I was one neighborhood away, sort of West Bloomfield-ish. But Sam remembers this very specifically too, and we were both pissed off by this. It was really audacious, the fact that he got his stupid little movie shown in front of half the school. And it was called Super Student, and he would make things happen, like there was Mr. Frito, who was the asshole assistant principal, who Josh was always in trouble with him, constantly, as a very troublemaking kid. He would make him disappear. And the whole school just cheered because they thought it was so hilarious that, you know, he could click and make the assistant principal go away. And then he would click his fingers and he's lying on top of a bus. We're like, God, how'd he get up there? How'd he do that? They let him up on that bus. You know, it seemed epic. And then he made the school disappear. And everyone just erupted. And I think Sam to that day was like, that son of a bitch. That son of a bitch, I'm gonna take him down. I think it was and Sam Raimi and Josh Becker shared the same bus stop for eons. And Josh, I think, was smoking since he was like, you know, 4. So he'd stand at the bus stop and he'd smoke and talk about movies and stuff. And then Sam would do magic tricks. He was all into magic tricks. And they kind of infuriated each other. Sam was a little troublemaker in his own way. He was kind of a joker.
We moved into Franklin, my family, in 1968. And a couple of months later, also in 68, the Raimis moved in around the block from us. So I was in 4th grade, Sam was in 3rd grade, Ivan was in 5th grade. And I guess we all met at the bus stop. But I immediately became friends with Ivan. And we stayed extremely good friends, well, we still are. But we were best friends for a while there, and as far as I was concerned, Sam was nothing but his annoying younger brother. You know, whom we were constantly like going, get the hell out of here, take your Spider-Man comics and get out of here, just get lost. Wait a minute, I'm gonna get my own lighter up here, right back.
So those two They were very aware of each other's existence, and there was sort of I think a silent rivalry.
Yeah, then we went to high school.
Josh, from the very beginning, was always about writing.
Kept making Super 8s.
We'd make our little Super 8 movies. I'd work with Sam and another guy, Scott Spiegel.
People are going like, because you go home at 4:30 in the afternoon, because every afternoon, 4:30, Three Stooges were on for 2 hours. And no one knew, like, what is going to be on tonight? What's going to be on tonight? Well, Scott Spiegel had the list of and we had teachers. We had our math teachers, English teachers, and drama teachers coming up to us in the lunchroom going, what's on tonight? And Scott Spiegel would pull out his list going, oily to bed, oily to rise. And then the teachers would run to the teacher's lounge and tell the other teachers, go home tonight because that thing with Curly, oily to bed, oily to rise is on. Scott Spiegel told me. And I remember seeing teachers drive out the parking lot, pull another vice. Well, I got to get home. This is a good one. I mean, those guys had such an impact on our school. It was incredible. I mean, to this day.
And then one day I'm walking around Franklin with Sam Raimi.
So they were all gags. They were mostly gag movies. Very thin plots. Really not much dialogue. We'd make up a little bit here and there, or a joke here and there. Josh was like, no, we have to write scripts.
And he's telling me about this movie that he's just making called 6 Months to Live. And he said, hey, want to see it? And I said, sure. He took me over to his house and showed me the movie. And I went, that was really funny. We should make a movie together. He goes, so write one.
Such an idiot I have never seen. Do you always act this way, Mr. Temple? Oh, no, 3 days a week. I spend the other 4 practicing. Now, what is it I can do for you, Mr. What the hell is your name? My name is Smith. Joe Smith.
And which stars me and Scott.
At last, it's mine! All mine!
And Sam and Ellen Sandweiss in her first film appearance.
Mr. Temple, you've got to hide me! Call me Vic.
And then I moved to Los Angeles.
He was like, I'm going to Hollywood.
Hey, before we get to that, did you lie about your age to take your GED?
Yes.
So by the time the mid-70s rolled around, he left. He took his GED, so again, he's on the advanced plan.
You were supposed to be 18, I was only 16. But I had a beard, and they just accepted it.
I'm not staying in high school. I'm not doing it. Josh was like, he hated structures and systems. He hated it.
Who would lie about their age on a GED? It just doesn't make sense. So they didn't question it at all.
So he took the GED, sat there with a bunch of Vietnam veterans in the mid-70s, taking their GED, and next thing he's gone. So Josh just disappeared.
You know, I was pretty intent. I mean, I moved out there when I was 17, thinking they were waiting for me. You know, and if I got an apartment across the street from Paramount, that, you know, they'd let me in. They never did. Never got through the gate. Whole year I lived there, I could see Paramount from my window, going, oh, that's where Billy Wilder and Marlene Dietrich and Gary Cooper made movies. I mean, who the hell is going to hire a 17-year-old director who doesn't know anything, who's made some Super 8 movies? And that's when I decided I have to learn how to write.
So he's writing feverishly, whatever the great American novel, and because he's poor, he's eating macaroni and cheese. Only macaroni and cheese.
And I bought 2 reams of erasable typing paper, yellow.
So he's eating nothing but macaroni and cheese. He's brushing his teeth one day in Hollywood. His gums start to bleed. That's probably not good.
And I was determined to cover all 1,000 pages with typing of some sort or another.
So he goes to see the doctor. The doctor goes, have you been at sea?
I wrote 1,000 pages worth of junk.
He goes, no, been writing a novel in my apartment. He goes, you have scurvy.
My big finale was I wrote an 18-page script called The Final Round.
You have scurvy. It's like, what, he's gonna get rickets next, you know?
And I went, nobody here in Hollywood wants to make Super 8 movies.
You have scurvy. So he recovered from that. So now he drinks orange juice. That's his one consolation prize. So in his refrigerator is always orange juice, and that's why it's in there. Because otherwise he will get scurvy again.
The good old days.
So he proved that he could kind of do it and tough it out. But I think
I had an 18-page script, that I was too young to be in Hollywood.
He missed the fact that he was starving, but I think he also missed the fact that he could work with a bunch of guys back in Michigan. He wouldn't have to do it by himself. We had really started quite a thing, and by the time we got done with high school, I think we probably made 40 or 50 of these little movies, and they got bigger and bigger and more serious.
So I came back to Michigan, and I called Sam.
Josh came back about 76, 77.
And I said, Sam, I want you to star in my movie. And Sam says, I'm at MSU. I don't have the time. I'll be in your movie. I'll help you with it. But you need to talk to Bruce Campbell.
Sam's very good at just sort of deflecting stuff. Here, go talk to Bruce. He'll help you.
So I called up Bruce, and Bruce was already in the film business. He was working as a PA.
Josh and I go to Howard Johnson's, which is where we planned everything. It was Endless Coffee. And he goes, I want to start making some Super 8 movies. And I was like, cool.
And he and I sat down, and for the very first time that any one of us had ever done this, we broke the script down. We decided who was going to play what part, what costume they were going to wear, what props we needed. And we actually approached it like it was a real movie.
No, you're just a killjoy, you wouldn't even admit if you had the best time of your life.
You're probably right, shit breath. So, let's get home. It's been 8 hours since I took my last aspirin. I'm beginning to shake. What? Hey, no. Really, thanks, but no thanks. When I sleep, I breathe through my nose, and if it's crushed, I'll snore.
Sorry, Noah, but I'm afraid you haven't got any choice.
So, 77, 78, even through 79, 80, all up until Evil Dead, we started essentially a very serious line of movies. And Josh was, because he was very serious about writing, he was a little more of a Woody Allen guy. He liked words.
I could say that I like myself now only in that I've had a chance to do a lot of things. I've met a lot of people. And I've had a chance to react in a lot of different ways.
I liked producing, and I thought it was cool that Josh was getting more serious about it. He wanted to do shots. He would actually storyboard. I'm like, oh boy, really?
It made everyone kind of be more serious. And then,
yes. And they learned from each other. They fed off each other.
Is my fish ready yet?
Oh, it'll be here in a little while.
Oh, really? What do you gotta do, catch it? Tell me. What kind of bait you use?
Oh, we don't need any bait. The cook's got worms.
They fed off each other like you wouldn't believe. I know that because I see it in a lot of stuff they do. Because I know each individual. And I respect them all.
I probably met Josh Becker 40 years ago. He had come up to visit his friend Ivan Ramey at Michigan State University, and I remember walking in a terrible snowstorm with Josh and Ivan and a girl, and I just thought Josh at that time was one of the more obnoxious people I had ever met. Ivan and I were trying to perhaps impress the young lady, and Josh just wanted to stomp through the snow telling us about all the problems with cinema in 1976.
He was cooling your action.
Yeah, he was a cooler in the freezing snow.
boy's just falling on his back.
He would storyboard his shot so he could plan it all out. And, you know, he was a big fan of the Hitchcocks of the world. He loved the technical side of it, too. So he's the first guy to kind of write a real script where if you did a movie with him, your character had dialogue. So, you know, you had to memorize dialogue on top of it. It wasn't just doing cheap gags.
By doing that, you not only did me a favor, but you did the country a favor. What do you think of that?
So that was the first step, I think, into being more professional. I have to say, in all due respect, and you know, that like all the stuff we worked out, Bruce and I, for those, which was final round, acting and reacting and holding it, which were all really good little productions. And then Evil Dead came up, and somehow Sam and Rob had never tuned into any of those ideas and wouldn't listen to Bruce at all, or me.
One thing that Josh, again, because he's this crazy writer, he takes a legal pad and he writes one sheet every day of whatever happened the day before. I think he does it in the morning. And he's done this, I don't know, since he was 15 maybe. So if I ever needed, like, Josh, what happened March 23rd, 1977? Well, let me tell you. I mean, he's got banks of this stuff. So he kept a diary of the shoot that I put in my first book when I put it out, Confessions of a B-Movie Actor. And his diary is a great documentation of the progression sort of into madness, you know. And one of the entries is, nothing makes any sense anymore. We're never going home. We're doomed, you know. But it was a great example of how the shoot really did go south.
So then you get into Evil Dead and all of that horrible nonsense. And then it just turned into an 11-week shitstorm. I was hired as director of photography.
Scene 21, take 1, sound 122.
And then Sam got mad at me at the last minute and made me a production assistant.
It's not about time. You know, we went down there for a 6-week shoot. 12 and a half weeks later, we come crawling back, you know, throwing up blood.
Everybody left after 6 to 7 weeks because everybody had to like get back to school and their jobs and their lives. And luckily, I didn't have any of that. I had no life to return to, so I was happy to just stay on. Right. And that's when I got to actually like do something. I got to take over the lighting and the sound.
Because the shoot went so long, we lost our main cameraman, Tim Philo. So Josh stepped in as the second unit cameraman and also sound. We lost our sound guy because he had to go back and teach film because he was a teacher of mine at Wayne State University, but Josh wound up on the crew. So he was one of the intrepid few who stayed all the way through the shoot. And again, Josh is an okay worker when it's not his project. He's okay. He was a little whiny because, you know, we were very inexperienced. We didn't know, you know, how to save time of setups. Sam Raimi's not interested in saving time. He's interested in coming up with wacky shots and figuring out how the fuck to do it. That's what he's interested in.
These guys were a lot of fun to be around. I mean, it was always a party, not animosity or anything. And of course, we're all just focused about film and, you know, being kids having a good time. And, but boy, it was, the great thing is everybody elevated everybody else, is the way I take it. And boy, I could tell all these people are special.
Okay, so we made Evil Dead. That took the better part of 1980, the end of 79, and you know, like all of 1980. The film didn't really get finished till 81, till I don't know when the hell that was.
So the Evil Dead movie wraps. Josh and I are driving the rental truck back. I think we're the last rental truck that you didn't have to get, no, that you could get overhead insurance. Well, we're driving, and these roads in Tennessee are dark. Come around a tight curve, and we hear, oh, it's something horrible happened to the truck. We pull it over, get out, we look around, we can't see anything. Okay, well, let's go. Got to drive. So we're driving and we're hearing this clam, clam. It was basically a big metal flap that was lifting up and slamming because we had opened it up like a fish.
We shot Evil Dead, which was then Book of the Dead, and got back in very early 1980, and those guys didn't have any money left, so post-production could not start right away. And
so, but what was important about that drive was we reworked the plot of this movie, Strikers War, in the drive back from Evil Dead all the way back, and then we stopped. We were all wiped out. I slept. Josh went inside a restaurant, wrote everything down on the back of a paper placemat, and then that became the structure for Strikers War. So we shot the Super 8 version. It was we were getting really good. Like, that has good photography. It has good shots.
We gotta move.
I think people forget that there was quite a while, almost 2 years maybe, of post on Evil Dead. And during that time, we made The Blind Waiter.
Hey! 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 Somebody stole my glasses!
Toro, 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 and Cleveland Smith Bounty Hunter.
So, this is something of a sticky situation, Herr Schmidt? Give me those rubber pants and I'll help you out.
All within the time of the post of Evil Dead.
I just remember shooting this, and Bart Pierce, who was doing the stop motion on this, was like, "Grit your teeth, shoot it!" And Josh Becker's like, "Stop saying it!" I'll never forget. Oh man, it was funny.
I was at a friend of mine's named Bart Pierce, and Bart Pierce had done special effects, optical effects for Evil Dead. I'd met him in college, and I was there to pick up a planet model, which was something about this big and made out of cement. And Josh walked in, and I was introduced to him. He walked in with Scott Spiegel, and Josh walked in and said, "Hi," you know, and then looked down, saw the planet, said, "I gotta have this. I'm taking this." And he took it. And I'm like, "You took my planet."
Personally, that's why I kind of like those. I think they're more polished shorts than the earlier ones. Hopefully, that I had learned something along the way.
They came from that direction, and they came from that direction, and they came from that direction.
You know, through the grueling hell of Evil Dead, the worst film school of all time, or best, maybe, I don't know. So what else?
When I first met him in the office, he was sitting behind the desk with a big smile, and it was just like, he's making a movie. And nothing else mattered, and I thought, okay, what's going on here? And when I finally got on the set and saw him working, it was like, you know, the doors opened up and I could see it. It was like, because, you know, I always had visions of, like, on TV, seeing all these big, you know, filmmakers and directors smoking pipes, and they didn't have a lot of money. And they were trying to do, you know, Vietnam, you know, in Heartland, Michigan, you know, and, but the energy was there. We break for lunch, you know, everyone's working hard, and I go, "Where's Josh?" I look, and he's in the back of a truck, and he's loading film, you know, and daylight spools, and, you know, on the little Arri camera, and I'm thinking, and he looks like he hasn't slept for a week, which I'm sure he hasn't. I'm going, that's it, that's independent films. It's like, no one's gonna bail you out. As the film went along, the other sides came in too. You know, things are working great, and when things don't work great, and you get yelled at, it's sort of like, you know, you got it all. So it was a pretty good experience. I got to do a lot of stuff on it and wear a lot of hats, and Josh dragged me in and put me in one of the scenes. I got to play a biker and squib myself, and, you know, Scott Spiegel's throwing Coke bottles at my head. And so that one is my favorite because it was like that first time where I was on a set, I worked on something, and then about a year later, it's in the theater. We actually drove to the theater in Michigan and saw it on the big screen. And it was just like, you can do it.
Because this is Thou Shalt Not Kill, except what's the origin? Because it was called Strikers War, the Super 8 version.
It began as Bloodbath,
when Sheldon Lettich and I wrote it, Sheldon Lettich of all the Jean-Claude Van Damme films. So we went from Bloodbath, and then when you and I rewrote it, it became Stryker's War, when we took it out of its realistic Vietnam setting and
Made it more like a John Wayne movie.
Yes. And then when Irvin Shapiro, the late, great overseas sales agent that handled Evil Dead, came aboard, he said, "The new name of your picture is Thou Shalt Not Kill Except."
And you thought it was crazy, probably.
I said, "I can't live with that, Irvin." And he said, "Do you want me to handle your picture?" And I said, "Yes." He went, "The title is Thou Shalt Not Kill Except."
By that point, I had gotten into the union because we made our second film, Crime Wave, which was union, and I couldn't be in it. So he finally got his movie going, and I couldn't really be part of it. It was, but it was exciting that he finally got out of the gate too, because it was hard to get our first movie made, and just getting movies made in general is very difficult. So we were impressed that he got it done. And then I think eventually we all just moved to LA officially at that point.
To be quite honest, he's not that good of a writer. In fact, he's a very mediocre writer. I'm just going to have to flat out tell you. I've read a lot of his screenplays and some of the recent stuff that he posts on Becker Films or whatever, and they're not good, okay? They're not good. He really needs to work with a partner. So the screenplay he worked on with me was, 180 pages, of course, it's got to be cut down. But even so, it was better than your standard Josh Becker script. I'm the same way. When I write scripts by myself, they're not nearly as good as when I have a writing partner. So most of my movies, when I've written them, they've been written with somebody else, just somebody like we can bat the ball back and forth, we can play tennis with it, and if I trust this other person and they tell me this scene's not good, let me fix this scene up, it ends up becoming better. Josh really should have continued doing that.
So we're all familiar with Josh's film, Thou Shalt Not Kill Except. Basically, the elevator pitch for that movie is Marines versus the Manson family. And Quentin Tarantino's new film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, basically the elevator pitch for it is Hollywood actors versus the Manson family.
Scott and I were living in a bungalow on McCadden in Hollywood, and a guy that began to hang out there was Quentin Tarantino. And
you see, Quentin just dug trashy B movies. That's his thing. That's what, hang on a second.
He and Scott became good buddies, and Scott introduced him to the guy who produces all of his movies, and they were all there in this bungalow. Nobody had done anything yet, except at that point, I had already made Thou Shalt Not Kill Except.
Like Grindhouse was basically an homage to trashy B movies. And that's what Thou Shalt Not Kill Except, look at the title, Thou Shalt Not Kill Except. It's a trashy B movie. It's the kind of stuff that Quentin loved.
And that was, at that time, he wouldn't admit it now, but it was one of Quentin's favorite movies. That's why he wanted to know Scott and I.
I mean, Quentin is, the most gushingly enthusiastic person I've ever met in this business. And he comes over and says, "Wow, you're Sheldon Lettich. You co-wrote Thou Shalt Not Kill Except."
And Quentin began to hang out there and with Scott and discuss bad movies endlessly, to the point where I finally got mad at them and went, "Have you ever considered discussing a good movie?" I wrote an article. It's got to be the first interview he did. I was writing for Film Threat magazine at that point, because it was on the set of Reservoir Dogs, and nobody had ever heard of him but me. And I knew him before that. I'd been out drinking with him and whatever, but now suddenly he had a movie with Harvey Keitel and Tim Roth and all this stuff, and he He's the same movie geek he always was, but it had suddenly like. Anyway, I thought almost all of his opinions were absurd, and I hated that movie.
So we got into the business sort of at the same time, and I went into really just focusing on acting at that point. You know, you had to throw down. Went to Los Angeles. I wasn't going to do a little this, a little that. I'm like, I'm going to get into this acting thing. And then he wanted to get into whatever he could get into.
He did a movie called Lunatics, a love story, which I did a bunch of effects on.
I had done a couple national commercials. I'd done one for, I think, a burger chain. I'd done like a Diet Coke commercial. And I'd been in 2 or 3 episodes of episodic TV, you know, as a guest star. But that was all I had done. And then I had to carry a whole feature film.
Hi, I'm Hank Stone. I live in 206. We're neighbors.
I was very nervous, and I remember around the second day, I was focusing so hard on the acting, and around the second day, after work, Josh goes, I want to talk to you for a second. And I said, okay. He sits me down and goes, you want some coffee? I said, no, Josh, I'm good. He goes, okay. And he says, you have one job. Only one job. You have to say your line as you're hitting your mark. And if you don't do that, the camera can't follow you and I can't direct you. And I said, am I not doing that? He said, no, you're not. We have to fix this and we're going to fix it tomorrow morning when you come into work. I went, oh. And it seems so silly to say that now to you as I'm here in this room. But it is the most valuable lesson I ever learned, because you get so hung up as an actor in the acting, in the moments, in the this. It's a very hard thing to do. It's very, very hard to be an actor. It's not easy, but
it's not so bad.
He taught me that there's a practicality behind all of the art.
And so that movie was kind of an odd duck. It didn't really get released, but Sony wound up buying it, and they basically bought the negative. They just said to us, how much are you into it for? And I think it was, geez, I don't even know, $250,000. It was a cheap-ass movie. And we gave them a number. They cut us a check, and it's like, okay, this movie is ours. So I think it's the one movie that Josh doesn't have under his bed, you know?
At a certain point, the artist has to turn businessman at a certain point. And it might be nice to think of yourself as an artist, but there needs to be a business side somewhere to mitigate that. Mitigate is a bad word, but maybe it's not a bad word.
Well, let's see, 93, I went down for Hercules, and I worked on Hercules 93 and 94. And I was involved with Hercules from the very, very beginning because I was the original writer. And then Xena started in 95. So I went over from Hercules to Xena.
I actually really liked him. You know, I like gruff, difficult, quirky people.
When they had troubled scripts, I got hired.
There were plenty of stories about working with Josh. The camera crew liked to do things their own way, and Josh had very specific ways he wanted things shot, and there was natural conflict there. So,
and I was able to fix them on the fly. And
ultimately, Josh was right, and the people who were saying things about him only with years of hindsight go, no, they were totally wrong, and they were assholes about that.
And work with Ted and Lucy and Renee and still get done on time.
Josh inherited an episode of Xena that the studio at the very last minute threw the script out, like 2 days before we were to shoot. We had had Gabrielle get a spell put on her that all she could do was imagine herself having sex with Xena. And the studio usually never read anything, didn't care. They decided to read this one. And it was the out episode by any other name. And suddenly they called and said, you can't do this episode. So they made us throw out that episode 48 hours before we were to start shooting and change it around. Oh, Gabrielle gets infatuated by herself. And anyways, everything got changed around. And Josh was great at getting that to work on the Run. And I believe that was also where we put Ted Raimi in a pink
And made him swing off a Tarzan vine.
Tarzan vine, and Ted Raimi was so upset that we didn't give him adequate time to build his Jean-Claude Van Damme-like body or whatever it was. Not that that was going to happen.
In a pink negligee, swinging through the trees and saying, soft like baby monkey. And I remember Josh laughing his head off, me going, that ain't funny. But I was wrong.
And Josh and Ted came up with a song that endears to this day, which is the
Joxer the mighty, he's very tidy.
Joxer the mighty roams through the countryside, little Gabby at his side.
And it goes on. And so
Gabby as a sidekick, fighting with a little stick, writing wrongs and singing songs. That was Josh. Actually, he made it up like 10 minutes before we shot it.
So,
yeah.
So we took this to a men's chorus, basically pulled from the Mormon Tabernacle Choir singing this song. So, we took this joke to the end.
Yeah, so Josh was the comedy director, and I think that was his calling in life.
And apparently this would be a thing that, with Ted Raimi, when he'd go to the conventions, he's the actor that played Joxer, would get the crowd singing, and of course they all knew the words. So it had a life of its own.
I ain't singing that shit. You'll keep next. You know what?
He was mostly a Xena guy.
You want to see me sing that song? I'll see you in heaven maybe, or wherever the hell we go after we die. And even then, don't count your chickens.
Wound up directing a bunch of Xenas.
Sick of that song.
And then I sort of followed him into both Hercules and Xena. So, we've had adventures in the Southern Hemisphere. In Auckland, New Zealand is where they shot that show. And it was fun to just get into the business with somebody. And, he continued to kind of just keep doing his own thing, and then we would intersect whenever we possibly could. I got disillusioned with, I did a movie called McHale's Navy. It was in the 90s, and Josh was really itching to do this crime drama in a really interesting, inventive way. So I was stuck in Mexico shooting this crappy movie for like 11 weeks, and I was dying for something that you could just sink your teeth into. In McHale's Navy, we'd shoot, me and the sailors, we'd shoot like a couple of shots a day, and you didn't really get a sense you were doing anything. I couldn't wait to get back into something that was cool, and Josh really had it. Came up with this story. Guy gets out of prison, immediately robs the prison laundry system that he ran, so he knew how everything worked. And it was a cool little story, and the shtick was he wanted to do it in one shot, meaning one shot.
I was floored by that because I'm thinking, wait, you've got cops, you're shooting street stuff. This is LA. You have to have a permit for everything, and and then you're still going to have police on your, hassling you. And so this is impossible. This is impossible. You can't make a movie like this. I mean, it's brilliant, but you can't. How?
You'll be back. Actually, you got that backwards. See, tomorrow you'll still be here. I won't.
Carl, my man!
Keep the faith, brothers. I'll look up all your wives and girlfriends and let them know you miss them.
Fuck you!
Not anymore.
There's, I don't know, maybe about 13 hidden cuts throughout the movie, but very cleverly done. And we fooled one reviewer. The guy shit himself. He's like, oh my God, what if an actor had blown his line? What if they couldn't change the tire on that van? There's a real-time sex scene. They're running down, we're going into apartments.
You can't do that. That's like, no, I mean, you just can't do that because there's no edits,
We would wrap, we shot in order. It took 10 days to shoot, roughly 10 minutes of footage a day, but we'd be done by noon a lot of times. If you got it, because we had nothing else to shoot that day. A buddy of mine, John Cameron, who was another of guys we went to high school with, John's a big shot TV producer, produces Fargo now and things like that. John was the first assistant director on Men in Black. I'd call him up because we were shooting our little movie. I'd call him up, I go, hey John, what kind of page count did you get today? He goes, we got 7/8 of a page. I go, wow, which is not much. And I go, how long did it take you to get that? 14 hours. I'm like, well, we got 10 pages and we were done by 11 a.m. Mother scratcher, bam.
I thought I had the perfect film festival movie, black and white, all in one shot, Bruce Campbell. And then I promptly did not get into any of the major film festivals. I didn't get into Sundance, Telluride, Vancouver, Toronto, New York, and it was horrifying.
If I Had a Hammer, yeah, what made you make that movie?
The same reason I made Morning, Noon, and Night. I just had to make a movie.
If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters. Oh!
I mean, I hoped at the time, it was, you know, I mean, obviously I had grand hopes of that by just making what I felt was a good movie, that would be enough. But, you know, then I went to distributors and they all just like went, well, basically they all went, who's in it? And I went, you know, because it was non-union, not SAG.
My favorite Josh Becker film to work on was If I Had a Hammer, because we both have a passion for jazz. And so to have that jazz score and to actually work with a live quartet, quintet on that score was the most fun.
If you don't have commercial prospects in mind, then it's purely a vanity project. And I'm running into the same thing now that I ran into then. That's not really a good reason to make a movie.
Can't believe you guys missed my songs.
Sorry.
Good night, Terry.
Yeah, good night, Terry. It was, nice meeting you.
Yeah, you too. Night, Lorraine.
You hurt my feelings.
Sorry. Did you like my song?
Honestly, no.
You didn't?
You faked it.
But they liked it.
I hadn't spoken with him for years, ever since that last time I met him face to face, which was, I think, the day before he left LA to go back to Detroit. Before he left to, like, finally go back to Detroit. He hasn't been back here since. And even then, he was just being nasty about LA and everybody he's known and other people that we know in common.
Was at a party at Rob Tappert and Lucy Lawless's house in LA. They don't have, used to be Nancy Walker's house. And I was sadly seated next to Joel and Ethan Cohn.
If there's something nasty to say...
They had just made Barton Fink, which I really couldn't stand.
If there's something mean, if there's something harsh to say, he will find it. He will not find anything positive about that. No congratulations on getting this movie made.
And so I didn't know what to say. And so I fell back on, it's beautifully photographed. Roger Deakins is great. And they're going, oh, yeah.
There was just not a good word to say about anybody at all.
Well, that Roger Deakins, he's really good. Yeah, he didn't write the screenplay, did he? No, good. Hey, that's really something, the way the wallpaper keeps peeling off for no reason. That's something. Who thought that up? Joel or Ethan? Which one of you thought that up?
Okay, you can't argue with him either. There's no arguing with Josh. He's got all the answers, and you have none of them, and he knows everything, and you and the rest of the people in the world know nothing. So,
have you seen Fargo, the show?
No.
Season 2, phenomenal.
Oh, I really doubt that. So.
Phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. I'll believe that when I see it.
You gotta watch it.
Oh, if I didn't like
Season 2. You don't even have to watch season 1. It says that they're two
Okay,
separate
anyway.
things.
Yeah.
I think your success or the position that you were in was like red rag to him sometimes.
Yes, I think that.
And I don't know exactly why. I can't remember the specifics.
I think it was a time in Josh's life that he thought he could contribute much more to what we were doing on Hercules and Xena, and not utilizing him he found super frustrating. Rather than just keeping him in a box and taking him out when there was a specific need that we knew Josh was good for, I think he believed he could service the projects and the overall franchises better, and we should have made him part of the writing team. And
It just doesn't work like that.
yeah, it just doesn't work like that. And
yeah,
that's just how it worked out. So there was, look, it's very hard for me to remember, especially bad times or any times anymore. But over the many years, there was friction, and
Then Xena got canceled, and I thought, oh, another one of my misconceptions. Well, I worked 2 years, on Hercules and Xena. I'll just take TV jobs. Couldn't get a TV job in Hollywood to save my life. If you know anything about Hollywood, it's not surprising.
You just kind of figure with the title that you were working on.
Yeah, which they all thought in Hollywood, they all thought was shit, because it was not a network show. I mean, Hollywood has their heads completely up their asses. So I moved back to Detroit, and soon thereafter, Bruce and I got that Bulgaria deal and went and made Alien Apocalypse, Man with the Screaming Brain, and then Gary Jones did like Puppet Master 9 or whatever.
And so I started to do things for the Sci-Fi Channel. They were like, hey, okay, let's do 2 movies. I'm like, great. I got one called Man with the Screaming Brain, a dumb old idea I had been trying to get made really fruitlessly for years. And Josh had a story that was called Humans in Chains, which eventually got retitled into Alien Apocalypse.
Listen, Mr. President, I'm here leading a group of escaped slaves that want to join your fighting force.
While there are aspects of both of our movies that are incredibly cheeseball, both Screaming Brain and Alien Apocalypse, Josh hit a home run. It was the #1 rated TV movie on Sci-Fi Channel at that time. The executives, they were kissing my ass up one side and down the other. They sent me quarterly ratings reports to show that during the course, because it was a 2-hour TV movie, during the course of the 2 hours, the numbers kept going up and going up. I go, great, Man with the Screaming Brain is gonna blow the shit out of the water, right? I thought, slam dunk, Sci-Fi Channel, Bruce Campbell, Man with the Screaming Brain, nailed it, That thing laid such a ratings egg. They wouldn't send me anything. I didn't hear anything from the executives. They'd not an email, not like, well, close but no cigar. There was nothing. So Josh has had his triumphs, and I'm sure he'll be laughing about that one.
And then about a year and a half later, I did Stan Lee's Harvey.
Nifty.
And then as hard as I tried to get another Sci-Fi deal, I couldn't. Slow dissolve. I just started to write. I wrote the book Rushes, which was published, and I wrote Going Hollywood, and I wrote a lot of other shit. Yeah, so it's quite a long time there. I mean, Harpies came out in 2007, and I didn't shoot Morning, Noon, and Night till, 2017?
Yeah, 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much just lost in a fog of alcohol.
Back when Ryan Meade was making Invaluable with me, he was in communication with Josh Becker a lot. And Josh has some problems with Ryan. But I was getting some inside stuff. Josh wasn't doing well. He had a serious problem with alcohol. and had to be hospitalized. And we're all worried about that. That's a big one. It's a tough one. And I know Josh kind of feeling that he was on his own at times. And I remember calling as often as I could and just trying to keep an update on things. But I'm not much of an alcohol drinker myself, so I'm not sure how, you know, the despair and the pain and the cycles that you go through. But I do know it changes how you think, and it affects how you relate to people and everything.
And we went into a bank at 11 a.m. to open a business account, and Josh was totally drunk off his ass and just kept saying to the bank teller, I know how to do this. I've done this before. I've done it 100 times. Just do it. Just run it with the number. And I thought, you know, on reflection, I think it's funny, but I'm sure the bank employees didn't. But
I think that's something that creeps in, and as an independent filmmaker, you got your own voice and you're all alone. You know, it's like the world's not knocking on your door and saying, what do you got for us? You're a creative person, whether you're a painter or it doesn't matter what you do, you know, a sculptor, whatever. But when you're in your own world like that, that kind of stuff can take over. And I think it's just something that happened to Josh where it crept up and then it got comfortable.
Josh and I, over the years, smoked a lot of dope together, and that was a lot of fun.
Drinking was not the problem.
Yeah, and drinking was not really on our radar. We drank coffee.
But the last few years, he's been drinking quite a bit, and it was a different Josh than I knew. So, you know, the Josh that I knew was reasonably sober and seemed together, and then he was, you know, drinking a lot.
And he ended up, having an outburst and threatening the producer with physical harm. You know, he, in an argument trying to get her to pay the crew, he told me that he told her she just needed to go write checks, or he was going to take a light stand and bash her brains to fuck.
I can't get inside his head, because what goes on inside his head is so much different than what goes on inside my head, or, you know, most of the other film industry people that I know. Like, we just don't react to things like that. We still go see movies. When we see a good movie, we'll say, hey, that's a hell of a good movie. You know, Shape of Water, hell of a good movie. Guillermo del Toro, deserves a Best Director Oscar for that movie.
He has held a long-time belief that he pretty much knows everything, and that can prevent you from learning new stuff.
And Josh will say shit like, who is this Guillermo del Toro person?
And I don't know that he has learned any new stuff or adapted through the years, but his brain is still intact and functioning, and it functions at a very high level. So I think his intellect is definitely his secret weapon.
Don't tell me you're writing essays about the state of filmmaking in the world today, and you're telling me you don't know who Guillermo del Toro is. Okay, there's a real disconnect there.
I didn't see Josh for a long period of time. I knew he had fallen into this dark period of excessive drinking, early in the day, collapsing, all those kind of things, and that was really sad.
I believe I said before, I think, her starting to see some other people and getting remarried to someone else was one of the factors that led to his heavy drinking, led to drinking every day, getting drunk every day, every night.
I'm sorry, guys. I just blanked. But you're asking me if I like Josh. Anyways,
I've certainly wondered long and hard about how you speak to a dear friend who is hurting themselves. The hurt the hurt is self-generated. And what can you do to someone you care about? What can you do for someone you care about to encourage them to realize that it's really up to them? No one can force them, make them, but what kind of encouragement to say, look, we're here for you, we support you, we're trying to figure out what we could perhaps do or say, but the switch ultimately has got to come from you.
But I don't think that's Lisa's fault, certainly. I think that's Josh's, the attitude he took towards the situation, which I know before he left for Alien Apocalypse, he told Lisa, you know, go online, date other people, see what you can find. And when he came back, she found there's a ton of people out there on the internet looking for dating partners. And I think that disturbed him. And I'm just drawing a parallel because they happened simultaneously, but that is when he started drinking very heavily.
Well, I have so many funny stories about Josh Becker to tell you, but they're really not funny. They're like tragic funny. But I'll start with just last week. I was at his house and he got really mad at me because we were reading out loud. He made us read out loud the reviews from his film, I think Lunatics? No. From If I Had a Hammer, which he wants to re-release in Los Angeles, and we're all excited about it, and Chris and I are goofing about it, and we're thinking, oh, wouldn't that be fun to go to LA, and we're joking about it, and I looked at my phone to look up a hotel in LA just for fun.
It's been my experience that there are basically two people that Josh respects, and I've never seen him treat in any disparaging way, and that would be Lisa Levine and Bruce Campbell.
And I showed it to Chris, and Josh got so mad at me. Josh does not like cell phones. He grabbed my phone and threw it, which was exciting and terrible at the same time, and he got really angry.
Here's how I would describe Josh Becker. Elevator pitch. Irascible, headstrong, incredibly literate and literal, and very deeply heartfelt person.
That's what I mean when I say he's his own worst enemy. I think maybe he gets to a point where he's nervous about something or worried about something, and he has this wonderful feeling of letting things go, but he can take it too far and let it go over the edge to the point where things go bad, like relationships or, he's very responsible, but he gets angry and he cuts off relationships by making angry, possibly drunken remarks or behaviors that turn people off so that he might not be able to complete what he sets out to do.
Creative endeavors often are finding a way to get a whole team to pull in your same direction and
not be abrasive. Somebody could be a bit abrasive.
And he would alienate that team. And
I mean, when you're setting yourself on fire, you don't say, maybe you just go for second-degree burns. I mean, there's no compromise there. You're still on fire.
It's one thing if you alienate them personally, but they believe that you are a great, this great auteur. He didn't make people feel he was a tremendous auteur, and he was abrasive in that. So, yeah, that was just, probably goes back to a troubled youth within his family.
My father would thought I was a complete idiot, an asshole, and never stopped telling me so.
Perhaps, his greatest weakness is an emotional immaturity. That, he takes things personally that aren't personally directed towards him, and it's an attitude that I think has, soured some potential friendships along the way, or that may have benefited his career or whatever.
This is one thing I would say to Josh. It's not about starting on time and ending on time. It's about the quality of what you get while you're doing it, and I think you need to start with a really good script, and I think you could do it, but you have to take it up a notch.
Yeah, he can do it, you know.
Friends, close friends, colleagues, relatives, you know, what could we do?
He does have the skills to do fabulous things, so. And he has people who love him.
And seems like the answer for Josh, the answer is always about work.
But I know so many people who have come out to LA, and it's really that story of many of them, very few haven't gotten an opportunity. So, and it's what you do with that opportunity, and do you build the relationships that people want to continue on in that? And a lot of times you got to eat a lot of crow in order to keep those relationships working and serviced properly. And Josh didn't suffer fools easily, and I find a way to suffer fools easily and then go and do what I want to do. But so that it's finding that balance that has that plagued him.
Can you talk about that for a minute? I mean, what you know?
My father thought the movie business was a stupid business, and this is a direct quote, and anybody who goes into a stupid business has to be stupid. And ergo, that made me stupid. And I wasn't crazy about that, and perhaps there's a whole level of me rebelling against that, because unlike most people I know, I never had a question about what I wanted to do. I always wanted to make movies, which is a blessing. I never struggled. I never went, well, what, I could do this or I could do that, or I need a fallback position, because I knew that if I had a fallback position, I'd fall back on it.
Well, Josh is never happier than when he's on a film set. Anytime I visited his sets, he's very laid back. He's very interested in collaboration. He's very great at creating a calm, relaxed atmosphere on the set. As much as perhaps he may brood when he's not making a film, and in the writing mode, and kind of, pulling his hair out during that part of the process. When he's making a film, it's a different side.
But I shall never take her back. And she comes crawling on her knees. Let her shiver, let her moan. Let her promise to her tone. I'll slam the door and let the Hellcat freeze. Marry Freddie. Ha! But I'm so used to hear her say, good morning every day. Her joys, her woes, her highs, her lows are second nature to me now. Like breathing out and breathing in. I'm very grateful she's a woman and so easy to forget. Rather like a habit one can always break. And yet, I've grown accustomed to the trace.
All right, that's it. We're ready.
Of something in the air. Ready. Accustomed to her face.
I mean, Harpies came out in 2007, and I didn't shoot Morning, Noon, and Night till, 2017?
Yeah, 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much just lost in a fog of alcohol.
In a fog of alcohol. How you doing with that? How long you been sober?
41 days.
You ought to be ashamed making a drunken spectacle of yourself at Oktoberfest.
You fucking idiot! Look what you did! What the fuck is the matter with you?
Well,
you were sober at the premiere of Morning, Noon, and Night, yeah?
I was.
I totally could see it.
Okay, got that one. Here's your phone. Oh my God.
You can tell. You can see it, man. You know what I mean?
I know.
All right.
It's a bad bad addiction, and I've fought and fought and fought with it, and as you well know, I mean, I was in jail. I went through all that crap from 2015 up to the present. I mean, I managed to make 2 feature films while on probation. You sober up, and then you get a kind of a clear perspective of what's going on around, and
I guess if I step back to take a bigger picture of him, I would say he's kind of like the Forrest Gump of the film business.
Josh's greatest strength as a director is also his greatest weakness as a director.
He had a career that he made money, and he worked, and he did okay, but, he didn't do the Sam Raimi, I'm directing Spider-Man now sort of thing.
I think one of the differences is every filmmaker needs a Rob Tappert. You need a producer who's going to fight for you, and
when he is behind the lens using his own script that he wrote, with actors he selected, with DP that he picked out, et cetera, et cetera.
He's always kind of worked in the shadows, and yet it's very funny how he's intertwined with these people at really interesting junctures of their life.
He most often will not compromise his story and his ideas. And this can create, on the brighter side, an incredibly original, bold movie.
So he's sort of been in Hollywood. He's directed Anthony Quinn. He directed the Hercules, which was the #1 syndicated show of its day. Same with Xena was the #1 show.
But on the other hand, it pisses a lot of people off, and frequently.
He and I think, compete a little bit in the writing world. Because, he was always, I'm the writer of this group, okay? Me, I'm the guy. You don't write. You guys are posers, essentially what he's saying.
You have to know Josh before you can appreciate him. That's just the way he is. Some people, you don't have to do that, but you do have to come at knowing him, with a certain amount of...
So years later, I published my first book, and I hunt and pecked it, to a New York Times bestseller. So fuck you, typing class. But that was my first sort of, is a way I could get at Josh a little bit. He's hard to needle sometimes, but that one I think got him, because I put a book out, it got published, it was a bestseller. And his notes were fairly merciless when, because I gave a rough copy to everybody.
He is a man who frequently does not compromise. Now, this isn't to say that he's irascible on set all the time, but it is to say, for example, so let me go back.
So we've been competing, because Josh has written several books. He's written, movie books and his own version of memoirs and stuff. So I just put out my 3rd book. So I think he's written more books, but I think I've had more books published. But we might be tied in books published, but he's written more, because he's the writer.
This isn't to say he's irascible on set. For example, in all of the years we worked together on the TV show Xena Warrior Princess, where he directed me and other actors in that show, he confined himself to the mode of television. So it's not like he was trying to make a movie or do anything he wanted to. He understood that he was an employee, that he had to make something that appealed to that script in that genre with those actors, and he did a great job. So Josh can do both, which is why he's kind of a conundrum. Typically, people either go, oh, I'll do anything people want me to do, and they're sort of like Play-Doh, or they're the other way, which is I don't do anything anyone tells me to do, I make my own things only. But he can kind of straddle that and still manage to create kind of great art, Yeah.
I didn't know if I was ever going to get to make any movies again. So, as it turns out, I have been able to. And so, so I made Morning, Noon, and Night, and that's done, and it's available on Amazon and other fine platforms. And then Warpath will be done probably in July. And then we're trying very hard here to raise money and just keep making movies and keep making movies. So, and there's the phone now. Good time for a break, don't you think?
Yeah.
Hello, Andy. I'm being interviewed by Ryan Meade for Other Men's Careers.
My mama cooks in Italy, mama swims in Argentina, mama's got a chunga, yeah. My mama's working in Venezuela, mama likes Cinderella, mama's got a chunga, yeah.
Still got it. Still got it.
I say hola, hola.
He owes me $20.
Does he?
No. I think I owe him $20. I think I owe him $20.
I got a chunga, yeah.
This is going in the script. So the next 4 or 5 scripts, there's this bit of a guy reaching for a tube of icy hot.
You should be fucking sucking my dick and thanking me for all I've done for you. You got no appreciation. You ought to just shut up and thank me.
I know that that's rolling, and I do not give permission for this part of the.
And the limo driver didn't really hear him, but he finally pulled over, and Josh got sick. It's kind of disgusting, but he projectile vomited straight up, hit the ceiling of the limousine, and it sprayed on all of us, but especially on Bruce's wife, Ida.
Yeah, but it's a nice restaurant. I could just see his dad going, his mouth like ripping her bra off. No, I could just see that. I could hit her something.
I mean, to Sam Raimi present, he's not Spielberg. I mean, there's always somebody bigger and better than you, no matter who you are.
I will give him the first advice I ever was given is never use your own money. So don't use your own money. Don't use your own money, even if you have a lot of money, and don't use your money.
And if he wants to come by and watch movies with me, that would be great, because I would love to get in more discussions with him. I have opinions too.
He made it safe for me to be silly and playful, and kind of taught me how to go there. So thank you, Josh.
My brother took that scene, that improv I did, and used it for Spider-Man 3, which is what Tobey Maguire does in Spider-Man 3. Says, Mary Jane, I just got this for you. I was just thinking about you in front of the mirror. But that was me and Josh improving that from Lunatics. But
I got the chunga, yeah.
I've been, kind of brutal and honest,
and have been very willing to tell anybody what I think, because it's just what I think. And I love the fact I've been getting my whole life, well, that's what you think. Right.
You got a plan?
Start at the beginning here. I never watched any of this footage for Other Men's Careers. I didn't watch any of it. I just watched the edited version of the film. And first of all, I think Ryan did a good job cutting it. And to quote William Goldman's Oscar-winning screenplay for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Strother Martin says, I am what you call a very colorful character. Bingo.